Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday slash Thursday. It's good to connect with you all again. Just wanted to draw your attention to a few things. Today is going to be our last day of really learning anything new in code this year. We'll learn kind of our last component of JavaScript that I'm going to teach you this semester, though you're encouraged to keep exploring on your own, about checking user input with if-else statements. That leads us into a little quiz that we'll have on Monday and Tuesday, which will be our last quiz of the year on our third language that we've learned, JavaScript. And it means it's also time for us to work on our last little individual websites for the year with our mastery coding assignment number 4. We've done 3 so far. You made a small business website. You made a website for the new Indianapolis Classical School. You made a website about yourself. We have one more little task that we'll work on starting next week. We really want to take a moment to acknowledge that this is really hard, especially as we get toward the end of learning these components of code. Last semester, when I taught this for the first time, JavaScript was really challenging for students, and that was when we had 3 80-minute class periods a day rather than 2 45-minute classes a week, where we could all be in the same classroom and actually ask questions of each other and of the teacher, which you don't have the chance to do on your own. So yeah, I think learning coding from abroad and from afar is a really difficult thing to do. I'm really proud of the job that you guys have done so far of this and the work that you've been producing for my class. But sometimes things do tend to get a little bit hard. And the bellwork today is actually based on a place where I noticed it was getting harder. Question number 8 from last night's homework, which said the following. Rewrite lines of code number 1 and number 2 above so that the variable is named Wallaby, and save the answer from the question, what is your name? Change every component of the code that needs to be changed. Now, this is a pretty open-ended question and a little bit more complex than some of the things that we've seen before. But here are some of the answers that I got from it. Flash, IDK, Wah. I don't get this. Wallabies are cute little animals that kind of look like kangaroos. I do not understand why they are appearing in a computer. All in all, for that problem, only about 30% of the submissions that I got were on the right track towards answering this question. And I understand why, because it's hard, it's difficult, it's challenging. But I also think that there's an opportunity here to ask questions when you don't understand something rather than just putting slash and moving on. Take the time to show that you care about your work. Reach out, email me if you can't come to office hours with questions. I'm always happy to help answer questions about what we're working on right now. I know a lot of people had questions on last week's assignment. We're still working through, we're still chugging through this. We're all in this together, and let's go ahead and work hard. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because we weren't quite sure of the structure of things. I decided to make today's bellwork assignment really similar. Problem number 8. And I'm going to go ahead and go over it once you've given your first submission to it. Okay. At this Google form link, when you open it up, it'll send you to problem number 4.4, which asks you about the following 2 lines of code, lines number 1 and 2. I'd like you to go ahead and answer questions number 1 through 4 for your bellwork today, based on these 2 lines of code at the top. Go ahead and click next once you're done. And once you've successfully submitted those, unpause your video. And I'm going to work through this solution a little bit together because I think it is something that we need to go over one more time. Complete the questions on the bellwork page using your knowledge from last class. When done, resume the video to see the correct responses. This should say 4 questions here today. Go ahead and pause your video if you haven't already, and restart it once you've answered those questions. I'll go over the bellwork when you're done. In case it's helpful to see a little bit bigger version of this, I have the actual code open here in CodePen. and I'll blow it up for you today. This code represents things that we saw in our last class. This line of code looked really familiar to what we've seen before, right? Document.getElementById .enter.html. Because it has this word message in here, which is originally defined in this line of code up here at the top. Our first line of code reads var message equals document.getElementById answer.value. Well, we know it's a variable. That's what we learned about last class, was that putting the word var at the beginning of a sentence will make a variable. Dot value tells us it's saving from an input box. Dot value tells us it's saving from an input box instead of enter HTML at the end, which tells us to change text. And we know that variables are used to save values that someone writes in. So this first line of code, var message equals document.getElementById answer.value, is taking whatever someone wrote, say in an input box on your screen, and saving it into a variable. Variables save things. That's what they always do. You see the word var, it means immediately think, I'm going to save this thing. Now the next two questions ask you about the components of this line of code. Okay? Question number 2 says, what is the ID name that the variable saves the values from? Question number 3 says, what is the name of the variable? Okay? People mix these two things up on problem number 8. Our ID name is always contained right inside this getElementById. The ID name is answer, which means this thing is saving from whatever has the ID name answer. The name of the variable is always defined right next to the word var. So in this case, the name of our variable is message. The word message is now a placeholder for whatever was saved. Okay? Variables work the exact same way in computer science as they do in math class, right? In computer science class, or in math class, if you say x equals 5, then whenever you use x, it represents 5. In our code above, message equals whatever is saved from the input box. Using the word message will show whatever was put in the input box. Which is what we're doing in this following line of code. By using the word message here now, we're saving whatever was put in that input box, and we're using it down here. So it becomes a placeholder. This is where it gets a little trickier. If you were going to rewrite the 2 lines of code so that they had the variable name statement instead, in how many places would you have to change the code above? Explain where you would make your changes. Go ahead and show me on your fingers how many places you need to change this code. I see a variety of answers. So let's go ahead and think about it together. What's my variable name? Message. Okay. Variable names can be whatever you want. So let's say I change my variable name from statement to message. You'll notice when I do that, I'm going to get a red thing in the bottom right-hand